March 1892. Exeter, Rhode Island. The ground is frozen, but the townspeople are sweating. They aren't here for a funeral. They are here for an extraction. 3 women in the Brown family have already died. Now the son, Edwin, is wasting away. The village is whispering. It's not a disease, they say. It's a consumption of the soul. One of the dead is rising from her grave at night to feast on the living. To save the last son, they have to dig up the dead. What they found inside the coffin of 19-year-old Mercy Brown didn't just terrify the town. It sparked a vampire panic that would reach all the way to the author of Dracula. Today, we go inside the true dark history of the New England vampire panic. To understand why a God-fearing town turned to grave robbing, you have to understand the terror of the 19th century, tuberculosis. They called it the White Plague. It was a slow, agonizing death. The victim would grow pale, lose weight, and cough up blood. To the people of Exeter, it looked like someone, or something, was literally draining the life out of them. George Brown was a hardworking farmer. In 1883, he lost his wife, Mary Eliza, then his eldest daughter, Mary Olive. For 7 years, there was peace. Then, in 1891, his 19-year-old daughter, Mercy, known as Lena to her friends, fell ill. She died in January, during one of the coldest winters on record. But the death didn't stop with Mercy. Edwin, the only remaining son, began to show the same symptoms. He was dying. The neighbors approached George Brown with a terrifying theory. They believed one of the deceased family members was a vampire. In New England folklore, a vampire wasn't a caped count in a castle. It was a living corpse. That George Brown was a skeptic. He didn't believe in monsters. But watching his last son fade into a skeleton, he broke. He gave the villagers permission. On March 17, 1892, they brought the shovels. They dug up the mother, Mary Eliza. She was skeletal, as expected. They dug up the eldest sister. She too was nothing but bones. Then they opened the coffin of Mercy Brown. Mercy had been dead for 2 months. But when the lid turned, the townspeople gasped. Her body was not decayed. Her skin was pale, but her face was full. Most terrifyingly, when they moved her, her body was still supple. When the local doctor performed a makeshift autopsy right there in the snow, he cut into her heart. It was filled with fresh, red, liquid blood. To the villagers, this was the smoking gun. Mercy was the vampire. The cure was as dark as the superstition. They removed Mercy's heart and liver, burned them to ashes on a nearby rock, and mixed the soot into a tonic. They forced Edwin to drink the ashes of his sister's heart. It didn't work. Edwin died 2 months later. We now know the truth. Mercy didn't rot because she died in January and was kept in a frozen above-ground crypt. She was essentially naturally refrigerated. The fresh blood was just blood that hadn't clotted due to the cold. But the legend lived on. A few years later, a man named Bram Stoker traveled through the area. In his travel journals, researchers found a newspaper clipping about the Mercy Brown incident. Shortly after, he published Dracula. Mercy Brown wasn't a monster. She was a victim of a town's grief and a disease they couldn't name. Today, people still leave flowers at her grave in Exeter, and some say, on cold March nights, they still see a pale girl wandering the frozen fields.